I'm Nikki and welcome to the Preppy Possum. Today I'm going to lead you step by step through a painting. Alright, so let's paint some pumpkins. Let's grab like a number 8 is a good size brush and dry it off, and we'll grab some pink. So maybe like a salmon pink and like a bubblegum pink to start out with. And we're just gonna skip up from that bottom right hand corner at least 5 or 6 inches and throw you a little mark. And then skip in from the bottom right hand corner at least 8 inches or so, because we want a big pink pumpkin. And throw you a little mark. And then we're just going to throw a big whoop like you're going around the top left of a ball or a pumpkin and just kind of connect it. And it's all right if yours ends up bigger or smaller than mine. But we got a good little, trying to make sure that's big enough. We want a big pink pumpkin. And then once you have that huge whoop, then go ahead and grab a lot of that like bubblegum and salmon pink, and we're just gonna fill the whole thing in. So once you have a good little layer on your pink pumpkin, then just kind of wipe that one off and rinse it out a little bit and dry it off. And let's get us a little layer on our light green pumpkin. So for the light green, I would grab like a sagey green and some off-white. So a little bit of those two together. And I'm just gonna skip up to this top left-hand corner, and I'm gonna drop, like, go ahead and do a big circle. And once again, yours can be like bigger or smaller than mine, but go big. You don't want tiny pumpkins. And then once you have a good little circle on there, use that sagey green and off-white and just grab a lot of it, and we're going to fill it all in. Starts out really abstract, a bunch of circles. But just kind of grab a bunch of that green and just throw you a good little layer all over. All right, now we'll just kind of wipe that one off just a smidge on your paper towel and grab a dark green. So really dark green. You can even have a teeny tiny bit of black with it, but a dark green. And we're gonna hop up here to that top right-hand corner, and we're just gonna do a big whoop right across the top. And then once you get that one on there, just grab a bunch of the dark green and fill in your whole little whoop. So all the way up to that top right-hand corner, just to get some paint on there. And then once you have the dark green, then go ahead and wipe that one off, and we'll rinse that one out really good in the water. Because we'll probably use that same size brush again. It's like a number 8's a good size. Because number 8 you can draw with it and kind of fill it all in. But just rinse that one out and dry it off. And we're gonna grab like a pale orange. So kind of like a pumpkin-y orange. And just skip down here to the bottom left-hand corner, and we're gonna throw a big whoop right over here through the bottom left. You just want all your pumpkins to like almost touch or touch. And they can be, you know, bigger's better. At least in the pumpkins. But then grab like some more of that pumpkin-y orange, so pale orange and yellow, and we're just gonna fill in that whole bottom left-hand corner. All right, so we have us a good little layer on all of our pumpkins, so a good little start. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a little bit smaller size brush. It's like a number 4. So grab a number 4 size brush and dry it off. And let's start by grabbing like some dark orange. We'll start with our little orange pumpkin, so some dark orange. And I would start by skipping in just a smidge from the bottom left-hand corner, so just a couple inches, and make a little dot. And then right off of that dot, we're gonna throw some lines. So you just want these to kind of arch up in a few places, but throw them all the way to the edge. All the way, like, and keep coming from that little dot. So it's just like you're dividing it like a little pie. It's just some of your lines can lean just a tiny bit. All right, so now we have us some little lines on our orange one, and we can go over those again later. So then just wipe off your extra, and let's grab a little bit of dark gray, and we're gonna skip to our pink pumpkin. And I would just skip down from the top at least like 3 or 4 inches and throw you a little dot. It's a little placeholder. And then from that dot, we're just gonna throw a little line that leans to the left. Kind of looks like one of those little head massagers that you can buy. So you kind of want it to just lean out to the left and throw one that leans to the right. And then you'll keep using your little dot as a placeholder. And we're just throwing these to the edge, because we'll come back and make it flare out in between them. Kind of like, looks like a pink beach ball or pink basketball right now. All right, so we got a good little start to our pink one. So we'll keep that same dark gray on there and skip up to your like light green one and throw a dot, like this time probably more towards the center is a good spot. And then we'll just do the same kind of thing. You want to throw a little line that leans out and down, and then do the same thing, like throw one that leans to the right. And then we'll do the same thing on the edges. You just want it to kind of curve into the edge. All right, so we have a good little start, our little lines through there. So now let's do our dark green one. So for that one, you can just kind of wipe off your extra and grab some black. And we're just barely gonna skip in from the top. So skip in from that right-hand corner a few inches, and from the top just like a little smidge, and draw you a little dot, a little placeholder. And then we're gonna do the same kind of thing. So you wanna throw some lines that just kind of curve out and back around into the sides of your circle. And don't worry if you end up with like more little sections or less. All the little pumpkins are different anyway. All right, I think that's a good start to our little dividing lines. So now kind of looks like beach balls. If it looks like that, you're doing it right. Then we'll go ahead and wipe off our extra and chunk that one in the water. So now let's grab a little bit bigger size brush again. So like a number 6 is a good size. And dry it off. And we're gonna grab some more of that pink kind of color that we started with. So some bubblegum pink and salmon pink. And now through like our little edges over here, just in between your little division lines, we're gonna let it flare out just a tiny bit in between the lines. All right, so we have our little flares on our pink one to get us started. So once you have that, let's go ahead, while we have this brush, and let's throw some light pink on there. So grab, just kind of wipe that one off and grab some really light pink. And then through the middle of each little section, especially drop some, and especially the top middle of each little section, we're gonna throw some of this light pink. But don't worry if your other pink's still a little bit wet, because we can come back and throw more. But the more paint you put, usually the better. But we'll go ahead and throw just a little bit of light through the middle of all of these little sections. All right, and we'll probably lighten this up more later, but that gets us a good start to it. And then just kind of wipe off your extra, and let's grab some more of the really light orange. So some pale orange, like pumpkin-y kind of orange with even a little yellow. And now we're gonna go ahead and flare it out in between our little sections on our orange pumpkin. And don't worry if it overlaps into like your green one. That's fine. This one can be sitting a little bit on top of it. But we'll just go ahead and keep Doing our little whoops in between our lines. So once we have a good first layer on that one, let's go ahead now and grab even a little bit more yellow. And for this one, I would add the highlights like kind of towards the outside edge. And it's gonna get a little bit darker as it dries, so don't worry if it goes on a little light. We'll come back and throw more paint on here. All right, so we got us a little bit of light going on. We'll come back and add more orange to it later. So then let's go ahead and wipe that one off and rinse it out and dry it off. So still using like a number 6 or something. And we're gonna grab some more of that like sagey green, so light green with a little bit of off-white. And now in between each of those sections, we're gonna go ahead and flare it out. Don't worry if like one or a few of these top ones run off the side, that's fine. And this little part, I would kind of make it look like it goes behind the pink one, just because I like the pink one better. So I'm just gonna make it go right up against that pink one. All right, so now we have a good little layer on our light green one. Let's even grab a little bit more off-white. So you don't have to wipe out your brush, just kind of grab more of the off-white than the green. And now towards the middle, we're gonna add to kind of the top, towards the top center of each one of our little sections. We're gonna add some light to it. All right, so now we got a little bit of light going on. Let's go ahead and now grab some sagey green and some medium green together. And let's throw a little bit of the dark more towards the outside edge of all of our greens. So it's that same sagey green with a little bit of medium, and we're gonna throw it more towards the outside edge, coming in a little bit through all of our little sections. All right, now we have a little bit of dark kind of coming in from the edges. We can always come back and make it a little darker. So now we'll skip over to our dark green pumpkin. Just kind of grab the dark green, and now we're going to do the same kind of thing we did before. You just want it to flare out in between all your little sections. And since I like that pink one better, I'm just gonna fill it into the pink one. So I'm just not gonna make it, you know, overlap into the pink one. All right, so now we got all of our pumpkins flared out. So let's grab, while we have this dark green, let's just grab a little bit of like a lighter green with even maybe a little bit of off-white. And we're gonna throw a little bit of that through the middle of all these little sections, because we just want it to be a little bit lighter each time you add your highlights than the color of the pumpkin. And the light would hit like the top center of each one a little bit more than where the shadows would be near the cracks. So you just want to add a little bit of light. All right, now we have a good little start of our light. Let's add some stems to these bad boys. So we'll just wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And for the stems, I would grab like a number 4. That's a good size brush to kind of draw and paint with when we're doing something a little bit smaller. And let's start by grabbing some sandy tan with even a little bit of off-white. And I'm gonna start with my pink pumpkin because I'm gonna make the stem a little bit crazier on that one. So I'm gonna start right here where the center part is, and I'm gonna throw a big stem. You can do yours however, but mine's gonna curl up. It's gonna start from the middle and curl up even into the green. And then I would leave it kind of skinny towards the top. We can come back later and thicken it up a little bit more. But leave it kind of skinny at the top. And then right where it meets our little starting point on our pumpkin, we're just gonna flare it out a little bit. So just kind of flare it out just right there where it starts. Where we had that little dot initially. You definitely wanna cover up the little dot. So it kind of goes right to the middle of your pumpkin. All right, so that's a good start on that one. So then keep that same color on your brush, and I would skip to your orange one, and we're gonna do the same kind of thing. So you wanna start from the middle, and then throw your little stem up. Might make it a little wiggly. Never buy a pumpkin that has a really short stem, because a lot of times they won't last as long. You want to make sure you have some stem there. All right, so we got a good little layer to our orange one. So now our light green one, let's add a little stem. So once again, start from the middle. Add your little something something. It's a little stem. Yours can be like skinnier or bigger. And then once you have that one, then we'll skip to our dark green one, and let's throw a little bit of something right there. My dark green's still a little bit wet and it's mixing in, but that's okay because we're gonna come back and throw more on there anyway. This one I'm gonna have kind of go off the edge, but just make sure it covers up the little middle part where we started. All right, so now at least we have a base layer on all of our stems. So you can just wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. All right, let's go ahead and get a layer in through our background. Since we had so many like colorful pumpkins, I would say use a lighter background. I mean, you can use whatever, but I'm gonna use a light gray. So I'm gonna use like a number 8 size brush, is probably a good size, and some really light gray. And we're gonna get our whole background. And I would start by getting like all these big areas first. So just throw you a bunch of paint through all the big sections before you get up next to the pumpkins. So I'm gonna skip around and throw a little bit through all my little middle parts of all the background first. And you can use a smaller brush if you need one. So, you know, even though I say a number 8, you might want to do this part with a number 8 and then switch out to like a number 4 to get right up next to your pumpkins. All right, but once you have the middle part, then I would go ahead and get all the way up next to them. You don't want to leave any white canvas between the pumpkin and your background, because we'll come back and throw a little bit more paint on our pumpkins. And when you're filling it in, just kind of go for it. So don't worry too much about which direction. Just however you can get it all filled in. And like right up here, you can see how I'm kind of eating away at the pumpkin. That's okay, we can come back and add more. Double check, make sure you got all little background sections filled in. If you wanted this painting to be like a little bit darker, you could always use like a milk chocolate brown in the background. I think that would look pretty too. All right, we've almost got us a little layer on the background. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And now let's go ahead and spruce up all of our stems. So to do that, let's grab like a number 4 again and dry it off. And we're gonna grab some darker brown. It's like a really dark brown. And all of our stems could use a little bit of dark, because then we'll come back and add some light to them too. You just want some darks and lights. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of dark through all the stems. So you can even add it kind of to one side. now that we have that, let's go ahead and grab like some tan and throw a little bit of that. You can kind of blend it into the edge of your dark in a few places. And then I would even grab a little bit of off-white too. We'll add a little bit of light through all of these. So now we got some off-white going on. So our stems are probably gonna look a little bit more textured, a little bit better. So let's wipe that one off. So we got our stems looking better, so let's just wipe that one off and grab some dark gray. And let's go ahead and thicken up the dark gray little division lines through our pink pumpkin and our green pumpkin. And whenever you're doing this, load your brush with a lot of paint and then just be real light with it. And that's how you'll get a good line. We'll do the same thing, so I would darken up the gray lines in the pink and then go ahead and darken them up through the green too, since we use the gray for the creases on both of those. All right, and then let's go ahead. I think our black lines on our green pumpkin are pretty good. But let's go ahead and wipe that one off and rinse it out just a little. And let's darken up our lines through our orange pumpkin. So still like a number 4 with some of that dark orange, and you can add just even a teeny tiny bit of red or a teeny tiny bit of dark pink just to make sure it's darker. So dark orange with a little bit of red, a little bit of pink. And we're just gonna hit all those little lines in between again, just because we did those really early on. And don't worry if all these lines are getting thick, because we're getting ready to come back and eat away at them. All right. I think that's a good start to all of our little lines. Okay, let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab like a number 6 or a number 8 again. So either one of those, and dry it off. And let's grab a little bit more of the, like a tiny bit of dark pink with that salmon and bubblegum like we used before. So this time you can add a little bit of dark with the salmon and bubblegum pink. And we're gonna add a little bit of darker pinks towards the edges of our pumpkin. So just kind of towards the outside edges. And this is just kind of thickening up our paint at the same time, so. But this is where if you ate away at it with the background too much anywhere, you can kind of come back and add a little bit to make it curve out again. All right, so we added a little bit of dark. So then let's grab some more of that salmon and medium pink like we kind of started with. And this is where you can thin down any of those grays and kind of blend into that dark we just added. So any of your gray lines where they got a little heavy, this is where you can thin it up. The more paint you have on the painting, the easier it is to blend. And it's acrylic, so it dries really fast, so you don't have to worry about that, but I think it helps to like have a bunch of paint on there. So we kind of have a good layer, and we've thinned up our gray lines. So then I would even go back with some more of that really light pink and add some more highlights again. It'll almost look white when you throw it on there because it's that baby pink. It's a really light pink. And whenever you're throwing these highlights, load your brush with a lot of paint and just be really light. And you don't want it to end at a straight line when you're adding these glares. Just kind of make sure some of the lines are longer than others. It's going to make it look more natural, not quite as like, you know, here's light and here's dark. It won't look as choppy if you kind of have different lengths for your glares. But that kind of adds a little bit of light, makes it look more like a pumpkin. So now we have the lights on our pink one. So now let's spruce up our orange one. So for the orange one, just kind of wipe off your extra pink, and we'll start by grabbing some more of that orange, so just like a good pale orange kind of color. And let's start by just adding another layer of that pale orange through all of our little sections just to get it kind of thickened up. And whenever you're doing this, you can thin up those little division lines a little bit if they got a little bit big. And this is where you can smooth out your edges again if you ate away at it too much anywhere. But once again, when you're blending, it helps to have a lot of paint on there. So just go for it. Really load it up. We're just going to thicken up all those little sections and thin down your little lines in between if you need to. And then once you have that, I would grab like mostly that pale yellow kind of color, and we're just going to add that towards like the outside of these. So more towards that outside edge. So just keep grabbing that pale yellow, and we're just going to throw it towards the edge. All right, so now we got some texture going on. I feel like we might have to come back in case it dries darker, but I think it looks good. We have some darks and lights. And now let's throw another layer in through our green one, so the light green one. So let's grab a little bit of medium green with some sagey green. And let's just throw that. Ooh, got a little dark there. And we're just gonna throw the darker just towards our edges in a few places. And this is where you can fix any of those edges you needed to fix if you ate away at your pumpkins with the background. That's good. We added a little dark towards the edges of all of them, all your little sections. So now we'll grab a little bit more of that lighter green. I would even add a little bit of white to it. And now we're gonna add some more lights through the top of our pumpkin. And this is where you can thin up those gray lines too. So anywhere where your gray line's got a little thick, I would just kind of be real light and eat away at those. And then I would come back with even a little bit of white and off-white with that green and just add some highlights more towards the middle. All right. So now we have our highlights through there. So now we just need to work on our dark green pumpkin and then we'll be all set. So the dark green one, let's start by grabbing keeping a little bit of the lighter colors on our brush, and we'll just add a little bit more of those through the centers of each of our little sections, because we're going to come back and eat away at them anyway. And then I would grab some of the dark green again. And then we'll just come back and eat away at that light and eat away at your black lines. Anywhere where the black lines, your little division lines got a little too thick, this is where you can thin them down. Just the more paint you have on there, the easier it is to blend. So don't worry if you cover up too much of your lights just now. You can come right back and add some over top. I think that's a pretty good for our dark pumpkin. So now we have some colorful pumpkins. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. We're on Cox Street in Asheboro. And be sure to check out our website, www.thepreppypossum.com.